All right, now. Welcome to the show, Hanging Out with Temi. My name is Temi Ajayi, and I've got the amazing ladies with me. Greatness is Royal Highness. Heidi Soliman, how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, Tammy. How are you?
Good, good, good. Heidi, do you look a little bit flustered? Have you been running around today?
Yes, yes. Well, I've been running around. Yes, I've been running around for the past few days because I'm going away on Thursday, so a lot of things are happening, and
Oh,
it's I know it's only 10 days, but there is a lot that I need to prepare for,
Only,
and yes,
only,
yes.
how many
Only
days?
10 days, yes.
It's a long
Like with the amount
time.
of preparation I'm doing, it feels like I'm going for a month, but it's only 10 days. And I've also got a really big occasion tomorrow in my church. I've been invited by my really old church choir group and to be part of another beautiful performance tomorrow with the celebration of our priest being ordained as a priest for 50 years now. So that's so good, and it's so amazing. So it feels so precious to be back again and celebrating something like that, and to be back with the choir, people. It's just it's amazing. It's really amazing. Yeah. And that's been my week, and that's been my day. So a lot is happening.
I never knew Heidi sings, but there you go,
You know
viewers.
that was the thought on my mind. I've actually not heard Heidi singing.
No,
Well,
for her to be on the choir of that magnitude, then she must be
That
a
there
good
should be
one.
something there.
That's right.
okay, girls, I sing and dance.
Can you imagine?
Wow.
Wow, amazing. Heidi never stopped to amaze me. Never. Another thing, another. I know Liz sings, and Liz is an instrumentalist as well, and she's
Oh,
crazily versatile. So
wow.
yeah,
Wow, there you go.
I mean, she picked what did it, piano or something, and she learned by herself on the YouTube. What
Yeah.
is
Oh,
that about? What is that? That's crazy.
awesome. Awesome. Wow. I didn't know that. I didn't know
She's
that
Yeah.
about Liz. Well, there you go.
she's
Thank
gifted.
Wow.
you.
Well,
Thank you very
I
much.
know I don't sing, but I love to sing. I got myself into the choir until they, by style, tell me to go. They released me by style because I think when they go up, I go down, and I I go every because I'm always excited to sing, but apparently I don't know how to sing. But never mind, I've got two beautiful ladies that sings. And so, how are you, viewers? How are you doing? It's good to see everyone today.
Yes.
Again, we're back. And today, watch out. I think watch out. Today could be a little bit volatile. When Liz is leading stuff, God knows where we're going to go. So, I just want to give a disclaimer. If you have a little child, tuck them in. If you've got a husband or wife, sit tight together because you're going to be really, really challenged. So today is going to be an amazing day. I'll be looking forward to today. My week has been um, up and down and up and down. Ladies, I just want to really encourage us to try look after ourselves. Try look after yourself. Sometimes, you go to the doctor, like a friend of mine went to the doctor just to do a random check, and the heart rate is over the roof, and there was nothing wrong. She didn't know anything. We just went to just for a random thing, And so I said to the doctor, can you do a whole full blood on me? Thank you. I haven't done my blood for a while, but I
Mm.
do the, the female thing, the mammogram, whatever you do, the pap smear. I do those ones, but check your level. Maybe it's your cholesterol, maybe it's your thyroid, just random checking. We're in a country where it's even free. You don't need to pay for it, and we
Mm.
still don't do it.
Yes.
So I just want to encourage, please go do your checks if you have to do it. I've just done mine, so I'm grateful that I'm doing something. And I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I don't want to see anything, Lord. No
Yeah, I'm
cholesterol.
actually very guilty when it comes to that.
Sorry,
Mm.
I'm
say
the one. I say I'm actually very guilty when it comes to that. I'm one of those ladies who don't attend
Oh,
to that. So
please
I've
do it,
shuddered.
please.
Yeah,
And it's not even hard, it's not even painful, it's just 5 seconds, it's done, and you get checked. It's very, very important to do that.
I
And
know.
my friends did it this week, and they got something that is really alarming you know but thank God they gone and checked it. What would we be saying then? That's just what I've got to share. And let's go on a quick break. We come back and it's going to be consent, all the way consent. We'll be back. Welcome back on the show, and I'm going to yield the platform to Liz Greatness. She's got a challenging topic for us today. So, Liz,
Yeah. Thank you very much, Temi. And yes, it is definitely a challenging topic. When we grew up, we had a very different perspective about consent. And there was a slogan that used to say, silence is consent. And we almost internalized that. We lived most of our life, by that slogan. You go into conferences, you raise something, and you're like, silence is consent. So we move forward and we adopt that as a unanimous. That's what we used to do, and we used to proceed to the next item. And all of a sudden, there's a whole definition about consent, and the issue of silence is consent doesn't sound like it anymore. So I really thought if we could just look into this aspect of consent. I don't know how much we're going to be covering today, but hopefully we will be able to share some sort of light around this topic of consent,
mm-hmm.
and probably give a bit of an understanding to our viewers with regards to what we know, and maybe come with an expert in one of the future episodes where we can maybe allow somebody to highlight the other issues. But as we move on, I kind of thought if we can do it like the 5 W's of consent, the who, what, when, where, how, and maybe just start with what is it? What is consent? In terms of a definition, and from your perspective. Of course, English is not our language, and we have to research everything. It's not necessarily that we know and we are making up these things. So I know, myself, I would have read through quite a number of things to be able to, even talk about it. So tell me, from what you have experienced in life, and probably what you have researched, what do you make of the word consent and its definition?
Thank you. I think consent is really vast. And being in a medical line, I understand what consent means. But the general rules of consent is that you are knowledgeable. Knowledgeable means you have full knowledge of
Mm-hmm.
what is happening. And that's why it's a gray area. And that you freely giving in terms of maybe your body, you freely give your body and say, do whatever with it. And then you are informed. So I've actually thought deeply about this and even researched about it. What is informed? How do you define informed? How informed are you? And so sometimes people inform you of, in terms of the doctor says, I'm going to look at your eyes. And then you went on the table, the doctor is checking your breast. I'm fully aware, I have full knowledge of what you're going to do. You informed me, and I'm informed. I've got sound mind, a good understanding of what you're going to do. But then you went ahead and do something different. So then you have devoid of what consent means. So consent, it means I'm cognitive, fully aware, I have full knowledge of it, and I allow you to go ahead with it.
Good. Heidi, what do you make of it?
I believe consent just means agreeing to
Mm-hmm.
something, whatever it is. I said yes to that. Like before, I when I was at the church, and then when I was doing the choir, and you guys, I came to see you guys. I asked everyone, do you guys want to say hi to my friends? We do a show together, and this might be aired on channel 31. You guys all right with that? So everyone that wanted to be on, they went, okay, yes. So I believe that because they said yes, that's a consent already. So it doesn't, to my understanding, it doesn't need to be, look, if you stand here and if I talk to you, this is going to happen. I just said, look, this is what's happening. Do you want to be in? And then the ones that wanted to be in were behind me. The ones that didn't want to be in left. So that was that was a consent of some sort, I believe. Is that true, Liz? What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely, some sort of an agreement. There's something somebody wants to do, and they want you to be a part of it. So permission is given, and there is an agreement from my side also that I want to be a part of that. What I have also seen is, in terms of giving the permission and the agreement, it has to be free. You need to give it freely. You shouldn't be coerced into it. Of course, as Temi said, you need to be knowledgeable about the subject matter or about what the person wants to do. You need to be informed. And then comes the aspect of the agreement into that. Agreement, on the other hand, when I looked at it deeper, also has got different levels. And by there, I actually think we need, somebody from a legal perspective.
That's right.
Because you do not just agree. There are different levels of agreement.
That's right.
So in that regard, we can say, yes, I have agreed, but how did you agree is, becomes the question. And it kind of becomes measurable. Some of these things, we thought there's no measure to it. But when it comes to consent from, a legal perspective, it becomes measurable. And that's really, I found that very interesting. The fact that, there is, for instance, there is a yes, but there's no level of enjoyment in whatever you've said yes to. It means you've not really consented. It can be argued. So this is really interesting. But then I'm happy we were able to define that there's permission, there's agreement, there's a clear yes to, what you want to be done to you. And in terms of this, we're talking about, somebody maybe wanting to touch you. Is it like this? Somebody maybe wanting to touch you. You need to consent to that. Is that it?
There is a difference between consent and assent.
Okay.
So assent is when you say, somebody was talking about this the other day and said he assented, not consented, that, all right, I'm going to go into the room with you as my boyfriend. I want you to not touch anything below my waist. So that's an accented. And then, let me change. Accent is when This is another story. Accent is when somebody tells you, um, I am a lawyer, I've got money, I want to marry you, I am 30 years old, I have a tell you story, but the story is a lie. So you agree on the face of what they present to you. That's the accent, sorry. The other one is acquiescence. But accent is you agreed because of this story you told me. So if the story changed, then that is not agreeable anymore, because you lied to me that you're a doctor but you're actually a dropout. You lied to me that you're 32 years but you're actually a 22-year-old boy. So that's an accent. Accent is when I agree on the face of what you presented. So that's not a consent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So there's definitely a need for a deeper understanding about, some of these terms really, so
Yeah.
that we are better informed. So a yes is not necessarily only just a yes. And against that background, I think when we consent, we really need to check in if the person that we want to do something with really understands what it is that we want to do and how far we actually intend to go. Now, in saying that, um, who can give consent? As in, um, can I give consent when I'm sleeping? Can I give consent when, maybe I had alcohol?
No.
When I had a bit of, we went out and I had a few glasses of wine. Can I consent to anything? Am I able to consent? How do we assess that aspect? Who can give consent?
Okay. Should we go on a quick break and we come back? I think ID understands that. I think she's done that before. We go on a quick break and they'll be
Okay.
answering that question.
Good.
Welcome back on the show. We just are talking about consent and assent. We've just discussed, and Liz is asking if she's on some sort of influence, can she
Yeah.
give a consent? Okay, and I think ID's got the answer to that.
Yeah, that's actually that's a great question to ask. And believe it or not, if you are tired, if you're exhausted, yes, you can argue in court that you said yes under proper understanding of yourself and your own abilities, because you were tired, you were fatigued, you were exhausted, and you didn't know how to make a sound mind decision about whatever it is that you were asked to have a consent for. So definitely, most definitely, if you are under the influence of drugs or if you are under the influence of alcohol, if you are not in your natural normal state of being, you are in the eyes of court, okay, you are not able to give consent.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. So sometimes when people are sick, or they get into the process of dying, or they go in and out of consciousness, we always get to them to consent to medical treatment, and also to nominate who the power of
Yes,
attorney medical treatment is going to be, or next of kin. Again, there's a
100%.
difference between medical power of attorney and next of kin. People don't know. They think when they next of kin, that they can, they can dispense or act on medical or finance. No. So they have to split this and tell us why they are in full, when they're not sick, when they're not drowsy, when they're not tired, when you're fully alert, then that's when you have to give us, you either sign the consent or you give the power to whoever you want to nominate. So if you're in under any circumstances, or you are not fully informed. And also, I did look into this. This will interest you. This will interest you what I discovered about a place, Indianapolis in America.
Yeah.
Then, you know, every state in America, we need to look into Australian law actually, but in America, it's every state has different explanation or definition of consent. Believe it
I
or not,
noticed that.
this is really somebody. They said if you're raped by fraud or impersonification, it's not a crime. So if somebody lure you or they trick you, I don't even, they say actually basically rape, it's not a fraud. It's not a crime in Indianapolis, believe it or not. In Tennessee, they look at it as felony. In Alabama, they look at it as this is good one. In India, in Alabama, if somebody presented to be like your husband, I'm your husband, I will marry you, and another. If they do anything to you, it's a crime because they lie, they pretend in Alabama. But if somebody pretend to be a boyfriend, then it's not a crime. So even if your husband raped you, you went to court and your husband said, "No, I'm not her husband. I'm not legally married to her. I'm just a boyfriend." You get away with murder. How do you explain that? And
Wow.
also, you get away if you say you're a boyfriend, there's no crime against you. But if you pretend to be the husband, then there's a crime. Listen to the last one I saw. In ancient Rome, if a virgin is raped, then it's a crime if the father is a tax-paying citizen. If your this is so funny. Listen to the if your father is a tax-paying citizen in ancient Rome, and if you're a virgin, if there's any of these assaults or rape, then it's a crime. But if your father is not paying tax, it's not a crime. If
Oh
you're
my
not a
goodness.
virgin, it's not a crime. And also, if
Wow.
you're a slave, it's not a crime. A slave can be abused and used in
Oh.
can you
Wow.
believe it? Because what they said was that the crime is not against the daughter, it's against the father. Because the daughter is a property of a father or
Yeah.
property of the husband. So the law in those days is tailored towards your husband because is a man, he owns you. Your father owns you. If those twos are not part of it, if you are raped, then it's not a crime. They just discharge you and acquitted. Believe that?
Mm.
Wow.
So I say that to say you really need to know where you are. God forbid
Yeah.
anything happen to you. So this consent depends of because you're saying about the 5 W's,
Yeah.
who and where. So it depends on where you are and depends on
Mm.
who the person is. If the person is your boyfriend, they get away with it. If that person is your husband, then it's a crime. It depends on the state too.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow, that's interesting. Those are very, very interesting statistics. Now, there's this other thing that was coming up for me as I was looking at the why consent is important. It came up for me that it actually provides for communication between the parties.
Okay.
And you know how much communication is important in relationships? And
Yes,
Well, we
Liz.
pray so.
Yeah.
and in some relationships we don't talk,
Yeah.
but when it comes to consent, it brings that added element that you talk about, do you want to do this, are you okay when I touch you like this, you know what I mean? It really brings about that aspect of checking in with each other. And also, sometimes when, or not sometimes, some of us, even when we are married, we're also private. I don't know whether that comes with maturity. Of course, I'm into my husband, honestly speaking, but then I am also into myself. I need time, or I even long for it. I need time on my own I just want to be with me.
Yeah. Yeah, we know that, Liz. Yeah.
So, yeah, so I'm also, a private person. And against that background, just periodic checking in terms of, are you available for this? Can we do this? And the aspect of respecting my boundaries. That I couldn't appreciate that even the more when I was doing this study around the issue of consent. What do you make of that, Heidi?
um I'm not sure. I just believe that, you know, there's so many different rules about, what 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 people like for themselves and what people feel, with partners. And when you have a boyfriend is different than a husband, and all of that. I'm not sure what to make out of it, because I actually get a lot of data and statistics and things from schools, because my daughters, they're young enough to still go to school. So my daughter Anna, for example, the whole second term, for about 5 weeks, I think they were talking about consent, and they were discussing like what you were just saying, Liz. They were discussing these facts, and what is considered as consent and what is not considered as consent. Do I go over to my boyfriend's house, for example, and that gives him consent? Or if he is in my house, in my bedroom, that it automatically give him consent? Does my husband own my time? Is that consent? Because consent now, like, it's not just physical stuff. We are talking, he is looking at my phone when he's not allowed to look at my phone. I didn't give him consent. He is, searching up, or he is going into different rooms into my house. Okay, and he's not allowed. He's only allowed in my bedroom, for example. So does he have consent? Do people? So there is so many different things that I'm hearing at the moment, and I would love to ask you, where is our boundaries right now? What are we actually talking about? What is consent? Now it's a big vast topic where I am so surprised, like, to hear that I'm just not able to make sense out of this whole thing of consent. If you don't like the people, why be with them? If you don't
Yeah.
like the man, why go out with him? If you don't
Yeah.
like him to come to your house, well, don't invite him in. you
Mhm.
know this is becoming really, how can I say it? Like, it crosses boundaries, because there's no boundaries. What are the boundaries?
True.
Who sets the rules, and according to what? Where are we going with this? I have no idea, honestly. And this is just really interesting. The whole thing is really interesting. When Anna comes home with all of this information to tell me, hey, we talked about consent today again, and then she tells me something new, and I'm going, oh my
Mhm.
goodness, that thing again. You know, enough already.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I hear you. You are making it even the more complicated for, people who already think it's a very complicated subject. Heidi, you didn't make it any easier.
Oh, sorry.
Let's let's hear what Timmy says with regards to communication and the boundaries and the respect that I thought, the issue of consent brings into relationships.
I think, for what is worth, according to what you said before about communication, I think communication is a key. Is very important, because according to what I read before, apparently the brain behind all the laws, the pre ages, if I may say, the olden days law is about owning a woman, and your daddy owns you, your husband owns you, and that gives every husband the right not to ask permission. And I think we all know that women are very emotional beings, so we want somebody to talk to us. We want the pre whatever you're gonna do, let's talk, let's have romance, and before you start to sleep. And because men don't get this, I think it's good for this sort of law to put in place, whether it's husband or his father. Also, we've seen a lot of fathers abuse their children. So
Mm-hmm.
that is why it's very hard to put a boundary to it. Maybe if we just make it a blanket, stop it. Don't hug me if you're not invited to hug me. It's a shame because also we're relational people. We want the hug, we want this. Then the poor husband or the poor boy is scared to hug you. And then some girls are angry and say, he never hugged me for 2 years. We've been going out. What do we do? Is it every time that this boy is going to be asking, can I hug you? Every time, like if I give you permission yesterday, does that give me permission tomorrow? It's very hard, but we need to put some sort of things in place to prevent all these abusers and all these you know pedophiles, if you may say. So this is why it's very hard, but I see the point, and I see the importance of putting these things in place, like I said, because of these vulnerable people. It's a shame, but I say that also to say the law outside is different from the law in my house. you know and I think in my house you get a hug anyway. It doesn't matter, until there's somebody arrests me, then I might stop. But for me, I'm a hugger. And Liz, also, I'm thinking about how to stop hugging frivolously, even in church. Somebody was alleged recently that they look at them somehow in church. I look at you somehow in church, and then is a problem. Look, not hug. So some men might think, oh, most women always hug me, and then they just go and start hugging everybody anyhow. Now there is law in church, and there's strict law now. You can't just go hug anybody. And actually, I think I've said this before last year, I'm looking at the way of just giving people arm's length, except my junior brothers and stuff. Arm's length, give you a handshake and go, because you don't know.
So cheek to cheek also needs consent now?
Cheek to cheek too. I'm just looking. Some people, they've got beard and they put beard on you. I mean, I've got a son that is got beard all over the place. So this cheek to cheek, I think handshake. You're safe with handshake. Don't go. I remember one day I went to, cheek to cheek to one person, and he was going the other way. I'm going the other way. Like, where are we kissing here? If you're not careful, you could just be rubbing off somebody's mouth or whatever. So this cheek to cheek, again, I think we should be cutting it off. It's okay to cut it off because, I'm going this way, he's going that way. Like, hello. If I had given a good handshake, again, you don't even know who really want to give you a good kiss in the first place. Who knows? Like, I would like a good kiss. So be careful. I would say I think it's good to master this handshake.
I hear you. I hear you. You want to give us a quick break, Chemi, on that note?
A quick break on this kiss.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that was an interesting one, Temi. Thank you very much for making us laugh like that there. Now, when Heidi was talking, as much as I'm trying to understand this topic, it's equally, I agree with you, Heidi, that it's equally a complicated topic to really make sense of, because it's really making it very difficult for where we are going to, in terms of where we have to draw the lines. So the aspect of when do I give the consent is that's equally becoming very, very tricky. Is it consent for once is consent for all. If I say yes to, like Temi was saying, to a hug today, maybe Temi was hugging me because we haven't seen each other in 2 years. So I come tomorrow, another hug. 5 hours down the line, we're hugging again, and then we're meeting next week. Is that is consent for once? Is consent for all? Or if we are old friends, I come from a culture where people kiss each other. When we meet, it's like, and
Like a good dog.
thank God to COVID, no kissing anymore, and we were
Do you
in.
kiss on the lips? Do you kiss on the
Yes. It
Damn.
was yeah. It was really becoming something, as we were growing up.
That's very dangerous, I'll say. That's
Yeah, but
dangerous.
I think, and I speak under correction, if a Namibian is watching, please, let us know how things stand at this point in time with that kissing thing that we had going there in Namibia. Wherever we meet, like, if you meet at funerals, it's all the family members, and it's almost people you haven't seen in a while. So you've got to go. So, but bringing it into perspective, is consent for once, consent for all? How far does consent go in terms of, when it is given, and is that just going on and on and on, or it's limited to that particular space, time and space moment? Can we talk to that? I see you are leaning in, Temi. You want to say something to that?
Um, I think it's implied. I know that you said consent can be also implied. You
Okay.
know, like you said that silence means consent. It can be implied. It can be, verbal. Because if I hug you today, why will I stop hugging you tomorrow? What have you done? Because today I think I'm safe with you. I can hug you, and you are always safe. So you will assume that you can hug me again tomorrow. Okay. So I think that the other person that is coming to hug you, we think it's okay for them to hug you again, but you might have changed and said, this time I don't want hugging. The reason why you might not want hugging today is because somebody else, okay, for example, I'm hugging my son and my son's friend is there. We assume that I hug my son, I can hug them too. What's the problem? So if I hug my son's friend today, I might not want to hug my son's friend tomorrow. I might do that because I'm ashamed. I feel bad, sorry, because it's there. Why will I separate you and hug one person and go? So, but I really don't want to continue this hugging with you. So if you come tomorrow, I might say no, but unfortunately you might think because yesterday I allowed it, I've given an asset to it.
Heidi, what do you make of that?
I believe that the law at the moment is that you must give consent every single time. So if you are going out with your boyfriend right now, and he wants to hold your hand, he is allowed only to hold your hand if he asks you and you say yes. And if he wants to hug you, he needs to ask you if you can give him the chance to hug you, and then you say yes. Now let's say that tomorrow you don't want that to happen, so when he asks you tomorrow, you say no, and if you want to say no, and he needs to abide by your rules of consent that you give. Okay. And same with men. Like, I'm just saying boyfriend because I'm a woman and because my daughters are girls, and that's all.
Yeah.
But in terms of the law now is that you need to give consent every single time you want to do anything with anyone. I'm talking girlfriend boyfriend relationships, and I'm talking general relationships at schools, and this is what they teach our young children, becoming adults now. This is what they teach them, and that's what the law says. Now let's go to marriages. Okay, so let's say that I'm married, and I am, you know within the container of intercourse with my own husband. Okay. And I feel like I don't want to continue, and I say stop. And if he doesn't stop, that means that he did not do what I asked him to do, and he doesn't have consent to continue. So
go ahead.
Yeah, in that container, he is, as soon as if I say stop and he doesn't stop, then that means that is the act of taking my right to ask him to do what I want him to do, and that is called rape. So in the court, that is going to be called rape, even though he's my husband and he had sex with me millions of times before. That day, I didn't want that to happen in the container of the relationship that we have, and then he needs to stop.
Okay. Yeah, that brings me to the aspect that I also had in terms of the, is it reversibility of your yes? If I have consented and I said yes, and let's be clear about this. When I consent to something, it has to be a clear yes, so that the other person doesn't assume that you actually said yes. And if you are not sure about that, you need to check in whether the person that you want to do something with is really on board, because otherwise, you're really walking on thin ice with regards to your consent. So the issue of reversibility of the word yes. Heidi, you were saying that I can say yes, and eventually, as we go for, let's talk about intercourse, because that's where you were. As we progress into the act, I arrive at that place where I think I don't want to continue anymore. And then I say no. So, and I expect the other person to respect my no and to stop in the act.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I can take the person to court.
Yeah.
Is that practically possible, Temi?
Yeah, it's practically possible, because I'm looking at the fact that this is your wife. If that person is not a mean person, you will understand, like Heidi said, this has been happening. This is your wife, so it's not like it's a new thing. So for her to say no, and there was no fight, because it's not that maybe you're angry with this man and this man is already getting to a level and then you say no. That's mean on the part of the woman. You can't do that, because you're already giving yourself to him. But if the woman has a cogent reason for her to say no, she could be hurting. Something could have gone wrong. You don't even know if this person has got a prolapse. You don't know whether this woman has got hysterectomy. Women has got a lot of things happening to them internally that you don't know. So if the woman says no, and you know that this is your wife, she knows what she's doing, she's kind, she loves you, you need to stop. If you don't stop, you can hurt her in that process. You can even kill her in that process. So if she takes you to court, I think that's viable. I think we need to be listening to each other if we think we're in a relationship, really. You need to know me. And if I say no, unfortunately, you need to stop yourself. I don't know if it's the way a man can stop, but you need to stop if you really love me and if you care about me. If you're not stopping, then you don't care. You're selfish. So I'm not in agreement anymore now. It's your own thing that you're doing. And that's against my own wish. So that's fair.
Yeah, I hear you. Can we speak to that girl who says yes to getting into the house? Maybe they went out as a group and the boy came and dropped her after the after party, came to drop her. And she agreed for the boy to, go see her off into the lounge. And she said yes to that far. But as the boy was seeing her off, it progressed to intercourse. Was that, did the boy miss the mark there? Because she agreed, she consented to him seeing her off in the house. Can we
Yes.
speak to that girl who is sitting at that place, who has
So,
been violated because she allowed the boy to see her off?
hmm. Liz, we go on a quick break and we'll be back to answer this
Okay.
question. I like that question. Welcome back on the show. We're talking everything consent. Who, where, what, how did it happen? Where are you? Who are you? Who are you having this with? And I really like this point. And Liz was asking a question.
Yeah.
Liz, would you please ask that question again?
Okay, I'm saying let's speak to this girl who has asked, allowed the person who was dropping her after the after party. She allowed the person to see her off in the house. After they got off the car into the house, and eventually the seeing off ended up into having intercourse. Did the boy miss the mark, or misunderstood the consent, or did she actually give consent to that far?
Well, I know I read something I was talking to you about before about acquiescence. Acquiescence is when you give somebody a power to do something to you. Like I will stop here, like the one I was giving example, like don't touch me below my waist. So that is acquiescence. That's below my waist. And if you go past it, then that's duress. So you've touched me under duress, you have crossed the boundary. By law, it's illegal, depending on where you are again. But I want to say something. There's an adage in my place. They said, don't smell it if you're not going to eat it. I know it's hard. Don't smell it. Don't allow the boy into your lounge room if the boy cannot go to your bedroom, because sometimes if the distance between the bedroom and lounge room is very close now. So if somebody can enter your lounge room, he's already on the way to your bedroom. It doesn't, after party, the guy can give you a good handshake, you can give yourself good kiss at the door and say goodbye. In our time, we don't bring boy home until we're ready to marry. You don't go into our lounge room. And it worked for us. So then, because a lot of times too, the girl will bring so many boys, like 20, your boyfriend, this one, boyfriend, that one. And then you see them, hi, son, for me, the boy goes tomorrow, hello, son, another son. How many sons do you want for this just one girl? So I said, stop, don't bring all these people to my house until we're ready to go into lounge room, and then it could end up in the bedroom. I want to say to the girls, you cannot eat your cake and have it. Don't lure any boy into entering into your lounge room if you're not going to go to your bedroom. If you don't like this boy, you don't want anything, stop it at the door. I think it's safer to do that. Stop at the door, stop in the car. Don't get into the lounge room because you're going too far as a girl yourself. You're going a little bit too far. If the boy is drunk, what if his boy is drunk? What if you're drunk yourself? So under the influence, you can misbehave. Anything can happen. So don't even entertain. And if you're drunk yourself, you have yourself to blame. I'm sorry. There's no sympathy for a drunkard girl. If you're drunk, you're making yourself vulnerable to be abused. So don't go to party and get peer pressure because they're drinking, you drink. They're taking drug, you take drug. So if you do that, I'm sorry, then you're making yourself vulnerable. And so whatever happened to you, then you have yourself to blame, really. If I'm not drunk, if I'm informed, my brain is alert, can somebody come and rape me? Will I not run? I'll run away, or I'll bash you or do something, at least try my best. But yeah, if you're drunk, I say, Liz, for my own, I'll say don't bring them to the lounge room if they can't go to the bed because they're going too far anyway. My lounge room is already too far.
Okay, good. Thank you very much for that input, Temi. There, hopefully our girls are listening and they can make good use of this little bit of information. Now, that's one thing that I've ticked off my list, that I'm sure this is what we said, and that's, what we want the people to know. Married for better, for worse, is not consent for better, for worse.
Yeah, the way
That's
you
what we said, isn't it?
it sounded a little bit harsh the way you said it. Oh my gosh. Uh-oh.
Okay. Because of our time, I wouldn't want us to go into that. I've got like 2, 3 questions. I think the one we have gotten into, and I believe Heidi will be able to give us great input for these questions because of your psychosomatic background. The first question I want to ask Heidi is, if I have frozen, and this is who was this? Kashmi. These are 3 people who watched us as the matter of fact last week, and they saw we're talking about consent. So I had
Oh,
3 questions. Yeah, Kashmi was saying if she freezes or froze as she was being assaulted, um, like sexually, did she give consent?
No, not at all,
Okay.
because that's a vagus nerve reaction, and it doesn't give consent at all. So what happens is that
Mhm.
we fight, flight, or freeze. So what she did is that she froze because she just
Yeah.
didn't know what to do. And that doesn't give anyone consent to do anything. She wasn't obviously wanting this to happen, or she wasn't enjoying this while it was happening, or
Mhm.
whatever it was. It's very confusing maybe to the
Mm.
person that's assaulting, but obviously what is not confusing is that she is not happy. She doesn't seem like she's happy. So that is considered as assault. If I'm not cooperative in the act, then that
Yeah.
means that I'm not consenting. So if I'm not into what is happening, then that means I'm not consenting
Already
to
as it is.
to to
Yeah.
that. So from a physical point of view, this is a normal reaction: fight, we fight, flight, or freeze.
Mhm.
So she froze. She
Yeah.
froze. That means that she does not want this, but she doesn't have the power, or she doesn't know how to navigate her way around this, but it doesn't give anyone consent.
Okay. So freezing is not a yes.
No.
no.
Good. Kashmir, I hope you get that you've got a case. You can definitely get yourself a lawyer, and you can proceed further with this one. Then the other one, I think Timmy has got a very, very good response to this. Hopefully, we will. This is Azusa. Azusa was asking. She feels her body has betrayed her because she was sexually assaulted, and she had orgasm during the assault, and now she's battling with that, thinking, I had orgasm, did I consent, didn't I consent, do I have a case, don't I have a case? And she's really battling, and she also looks at herself, in a way that, like, my body betrayed me,
Oh,
kind of.
God.
Yeah. So can we speak to Azusa,
Mm.
Temi?
You know, is this is what happened to you when you're abused. You start to self-blame. You start looking for fault from your side. What have I contributed to it? You know, it's a shame that she's feeling the way she's feeling. But I would say, unless the judge asks you these questions, don't don't start to process anything. The first impression was you were coerced, or you were seduced, or under duress, all these things before you got in, and that's what matters. Whether
Hmm.
in the process, you can think that if you're being abused, maybe you should just relax your body and just go through the process. That doesn't mean that you really consent to it to start with. It's a shame, but the men too, like I said, I'm not a man. I don't know if this woman did Aziza consented to start with, and then
No, it
or
it,
she
it 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 was a sexual assault, but she's in that catch-22 situation because she had orgasm during the process.
this orgasm thing too, even
I
all those.
I have something to say to that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sure.
Orgasm for a woman is not a physical thing. It doesn't happen that way. Women only orgasm because there is a mind and body thing together.
you're enjoying.
Women are not mechanical beings like men. Men, they orgasm just like, with a mechanical act, and they can orgasm anytime. Women can't. Women need mind and body together for them to reach an orgasm. So I am really questioning that where was her mind in the act of assault? What was that about? Where was
Hmm.
that where was that? Like, if I am in look if I am being abused, then I am in resistance. And if I'm in resistance, I
Your body,
cannot
yeah,
orgasm.
your body shuts down.
My
Yes.
my areas in the brain that allows orgasm to happen are not going to allow this to happen. They're going to be shutting down all of these areas. My frontal lobe is going to be dull. There is nothing there. So for orgasm to happen, frontal lobe needs to be so clear, so focused, so in. And if I'm scared and if I'm assaulted, then my frontal lobe is not going to be interactive in this act. So I am if she goes to court, any doctor, any psychologist will ask this question: what are you talking about? If
Mm-hmm.
she does go to court, I don't know if she will or not, but I'm just asking this question
Yeah,
to her. What is that about?
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Look,
I al- I believe that really there's more. There's more that we cannot talk to her on the show, but if we can, I can talk to her at the back as well. So there are a lot of, it could be this is the first time she's having sex. It could be this is the first time she's having this type. If she's white, maybe this is the time you're sleeping with you're raped by a black. Or if you're black, maybe this first time with, maybe she's just processing this, that maybe, or a lot of maybes in her head. She's the one processing it. But I think in terms of legal battle, she should stop all those processes, because it's not what your body says, it's what your soul, your spirit, your mind at the time of entrance into this.
hmm,
What is
yeah,
your mind? You resisted it, so pursue it. And
yeah.
yeah, don't
I
stop.
yeah, I agree, and I think particularly when it comes to that aspect, we probably need to get some sort of a body expert and maybe talk about it a little more, because also from my perspective, I was thinking, our bodies are designed in a way that it naturally operates. When you are triggered in a particular way, you will respond accordingly. So if your genitals are triggered, that's what the genitals are waiting for, to respond. Of course, there's the other body interactions that can block this or that or the other. I don't know if everything works like that all the time. However, your body was triggered, and that's what I was thinking. Your body was triggered, and it responds as it would if it is triggered in that way. If somebody tickles me, that I go laughing.
Yeah,
Even if I say stop it, I go laughing. So then if you are sexually assaulted, your body is being triggered, so there is a likelihood that that can happen. We cannot outrule that fact. But Azusa, there is a lot to be discussed in this matter, and we would love you to probably talk to us a little more so that we can help further. But you do have a legal case simply because, to begin with, you
yeah,
did not consent,
yeah,
and your body did not betray you.
yeah.
So Get back to love yourself, get back to love your body, get back to appreciate yourself. And that's number one. Because when everybody else goes and when everything else closes their doors and shuts down, you are there with yourself.
Yeah.
So change the way you look at yourself and start a new relationship with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else we can take care of, and you can go forward with your life.
Yeah.
So it is time, Timmy. This was a beautiful discussion.
It is a beautiful discussion, and there's a lot of nuggets that we already put there. And I agree to what you say. Your body, like Heidi say, you fly, you freeze, your body can just relax and say, all right, I can just die now. I'm giving up. Okay, this is it for me. They already abused me. I'm already violated. What's the point fighting? Let me just relax. And it could be anything, but that's not the point. The main point, Asusa, is that you were not interested in this and you have a case there. And I think we've done a good justice to it. Thank you so much, Liz, for this necessary topic that we need to know. As a father, you have no absolute right to just go ahead and hug your daughter or your wife when they are kind of people that legalistic people. Some family are very legalistic. If I said, no, mom, don't hug me, dad, don't hug me. If they say that, don't carry on and say, this is all, I'm in Nigeria, you might go to jail. That's just, we're gonna stop it there until next week. We're gonna call it a day today. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for
Good
now.
night.
Good night.